Welcome to Literally Books, a podcast. My name is Magda.
And I'm Lindsay.
And today we're going to be doing an episode about the Austin, Texas book trail. Is that what it's called? That's what it is.
It is what it's called.
Thank you. I was just like, I don't know if I was missing words in there, but that is the name.
Do you know that this marks basically a year since we've started this podcast?
It's a pretty big milestone for us. And this was our very first event that we did as an official, I don't want to call it business, but podcasters, I guess, in the book community. It was great. We met so many great people and it was just a wonderful time. And this year we did it a little bit different. We, instead of staying in Austin, which is where we're based, we went a little bit outside of our comfort zone, and I can't wait to chat more about that and get your thoughts. But before we get started, what have you been reading?
What have I been reading? After our conversation during our quarterly bookish review, I revisited some things. I really lived up to what I said I was going to do in that episode, which is that I wanted to live in the V.E. Schwab and R.F. Kuang-verses. So I finished A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, which I had picked up on audiobook, set down, and then picked back up again. And I liked it.
I think that was one that you kind of had in a performance review, and like in potentially it needed improvement. So did it improve?
I enjoy the book. Here's the deal about A Darker Shade of Magic. It is, I would say, like very comfort fantasy. For me, I don't attach to the characters as much. It's like a beautiful story. It's very good writing, but I don't feel like the characters really hit me in my soul. And so while I'm enjoying it, the stakes are not that high for me. And I feel like that is true, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the story of it.
Okay. I think for me, like I haven't read V.E. Schwab yet, and I think I'm going to wait until her new book comes out in June. Can you remind me of the name of it?
Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. Yeah.
That's it. So I think I'm going to wait for that one until it comes out, and then I'll probably just kind of dive a little bit more into the V.E. Schwab universe and see how it goes. But I'm glad you finished that one.
I'm proud of myself for finishing it, but and I probably will read the third book. It's not a bad book. It's just like it's not a soul read for me, you know?
Yeah, I got you.
The other thing that I think we both have to talk about. So I started Babel by R.F. Kuang. So you're reading that as well. I'm really enjoying it. And then there's another R.F. Kuang book that we both read that I think we were both obsessed with, which is Yellowface.
This was like a surprise book for me. I got it on my Libby out of nowhere and I devoured. I did it as an audiobook. It just came out of nowhere. Like I think Libby gave me one of those like skip the line type of things. And I was like, well, I have to listen to it now. I listened to that book in 2 days and I could not stop thinking about this. And I think I immediately went and told you, Lindsay, you have to read this. You have to read this because the main character is a very triggering character but you just like cannot look away from the train wreck that her life is. And it's incredible.
It's such an interesting look at the business of the publishing community and the business of marketing a book. And I found that to be really fascinating. You're right in that the main character is, I really struggled with her. And yet there are moments where she comes through clearly and you're like, uh-oh, I don't like how much I relate to this character. Like really R.F. Kuang pins you down and makes you see like in what ways are you related to this problematic character? Where do you see yourself in them? And it brings up we were talking about this a little bit, but I want to bring it up here too. It brings up one of my favorite topics in writing, which is how much flexibility do we give writers in writing about characters whose existences do not mirror their own?
I completely agree. And I think it's a topic that is really hard to discuss, right? I am of the opinion that, as you guys know, I am Hispanic, I'm Latin, and I disagree with the opinions of like, well, you can only write about Latin culture if you're from like Latin America. That's it. Like I really don't like that those boundaries that are set by people. Obviously, I don't want them to be writing about it in a tone that is problematic or that is making fun of the culture or anything like that. But if it's coming from a place that like they're showing the respect, they're really well versed into the topic, you have researched it, and you are in touch with the story one way or another, I have no problems with that. I don't like that sometimes it comes as like, well, because you're not brown, you cannot write about this at all whatsoever. Like you have to stay in your lane. And I don't feel like that's fair because like we live in a very in a place where we touch and rub shoulders with all kinds of different people from different backgrounds and cultures and things, and I think it's really hard to disassociate ourselves from all of that and just be like, well, show me your DNA test and let me see what percentage of you is brown enough, so see if you can actually write about that. And I just don't like that type of rhetoric that is used at times, but maybe that could just be me.
No, I think what this book does well is it shows you that, like, everything is incredibly nuanced. Like, the main character is awful, and without spoiling anything, like, this is a character that you have a really hard time rooting for, but she does stand in for this argument of, like, who can write what stories and what should that look like? How do you do that well? Like, how much of an experience do you have to have shared with a character in order to write them well? And, like, at what point are you, basically taking advantage of a culture that you're not a part of to make a quick buck. It's like a
Yeah.
very hard line to straddle, and so even though I hated the characters so much, I found that conversation to be riveting. I had the same experience as you. I had a really hard time, like, putting it down because I was just like, I was thinking about it a lot. Anyway.
Yeah, it was a great read, and like this just kind of makes me want to continue to read R.F. Kuang even more. I know her next book, Carabases, I think, comes out later this year. I cannot wait. Yellowface was just such a fast paced read, and it just goes quick, 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 and it just throwing all this information at you. And yeah, it was a fantastic read for everybody that had recommended it to us. Thank you for that. I'm gonna be thinking about this book for a very, very long time. It was fantastic.
I agree. What about you? What else are you reading?
So I did finish. This was based on your recommendation. You actually bought this book for me. I finished reading The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. Oh my gosh, Lindsay. I cannot believe that it took me. You gave me this book, I think, in December, and it took me like, I just picked it up right now in April, and I am so mad at myself that it took me so long to read it. It was just a wonderful book. As you know, I don't want to have children. I'm sorry. If you want to have children, that's cool. Good for you. I love kids, just not for me. This book made me believe that maybe I do want children, and I just want like the little magical children. Like I
No.
want cute, adorable little Lucifers running around my house.
Give me the book. Give me the book back. That was not the intent. This is
No.
not the outcome of what I was hoping. But yes, it does.
It was
It
just cute.
I think it does a good job of, like, yeah, describing the benefits of family. Maybe not
Hmm.
children, but no offense to people who have children. I
Uh,
also love children, but
I think it was just.
I need my childless friends to stay
I guess.
intact, please.
No, you're right. I mean, obviously that's not gonna happen, but it was just so adorable. Like the way that the children are shown and the type of family dynamics that are being shown in this book are just so beautiful. It just talks a lot about the importance of nurturing versus nature, and it was just like a wonderful thing. And I think it this does touch on your favorite topic, which is found family. And it was just so wonderful. And I can't wait to read book two, which I actually quick preview for our next what we're gonna be talking about later, which I did end up getting Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. I cannot wait to start that. Which is the second book in that little, I guess it's like a little duology. But yeah, it was so adorable. It just made my day. It made my week. I was in like a weird book slump type of thing in the week before, and this is a book that got me out of it. Like I am so glad that. And you know what? Actually, I'm not mad that I didn't read it before because I think the book came at the right time. I was in this weird headspace, and it just brought me out of it. And I think it was exactly what I needed. And I just read it at the right time. So thank you for that. That was fantastic. And then the last thing that I read, it's this is for my horny ladies. That's all I have to say about that.
Which is
Okay.
all ladies, let's be real. Which is all most people.
Okay, so as you guys know, I think I've talked about this a couple times where I do follow a couple of subreddits, and one of the subreddits that I follow very closely is romance books. And this was this prompt that somebody was in search of a book, and I'm like, I am curious to see what this is. Here's what I'm gonna read you what the person wrote, and I want to see if you are curious as if it's going to pique your interest as it did to me. And he says, I'm looking for a married FMC who is offered money for a weekend together, like in the movie Indecent Proposal. I want it to be an unhappy marriage. She's in, and the FNC, of course, ends up with the indecent proposer. I don't know why I read that, and I'm like, interesting. 'Cause I remember watching that movie like such a long time ago, and that movie was like, it was super intense. But she does end up going back with her husband. I don't know if you remember. This was a Demi Moore movie. Do you remember this?
Yes, I'm over here laughing because, like, we were children when that movie came out. So I find it really fascinating that you're like, back in the good old days when middle school Magda was getting down with indecent proposal. Like, what is happening? I need to know the context under which you were watching this movie.
I don't know how or when I watched it, but I just remember very vividly, like, this was probably the 90s. And maybe I was not supposed to watch this movie because you're right. Like, I was
No, you were
really
not
young.
supposed to watch that movie. That's like, yeah, no, like erotic, like drama films were not my go-to at 12. No.
Oh, God. Anyways, the top book that was recommended in this, because I was just like, this just piqued my interest. And I'm like, this is like an interesting topic, something that I've never read before. So I kind of want to know. So the top like recommendation was this book called Brutal Billionaire by Laurelyn Page. And it's pretty much the husband makes a business deal with the MMC and includes having sex with the FMC. I was just like, I don't think this is good. It has 4.5 stars in Goodreads and in a couple of other places. So this is like super highly rated. I hated it. I hated this book. I read it super quick, but here, and I don't think this book answered the premise of what the person was looking for, because pretty much the premise of this book, yes, she's married in an unhappy open marriage. That's kind of what they have, and the guy negotiates this deal with her billionaire dude, but it's pretty much to get her a job as a tap anchor in a news station. So she pretty much has to sleep with the guy to get the job. And I was just like, I'm out. I can't. I draw the line at sleeping your way to the top. Give me, I guess, infidelity, apparently. I have no idea, but I just hated this. I hated it. I don't think it did what the person was looking for in here at all. So yeah, I don't recommend it. It just wasn't for me. If you are a horny lady that just wants to get down for like some of the sex scenes, there's a lot of them in there. So go crazy. But it was not for me. Anyways, that's the background story of A Brutal Billionaire and
A
how
lot
I
to take
read.
in.
So yeah, I read some really nice cozy reads with The House of the Cerulean Sea, some really thinking books like Yellowface, and then a horn dog of a book called The Brutal Billionaire. You can't say that I'm not well versed because I read everything this week.
She contains layers, everyone. She contains multitudes.
Anyways, that's that. You want
Should
to
we
take a
take a
little bit
little
of a break?
break?
Yeah, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. So now we're going to get into our big discussion of the Austin, Texas book trail. We literally just got home from doing it. So this is fresh, hot off the press, maybe hot off the car, hot off the seat car type of reporting that we're going to be doing here. What did you think, Lindsay?
Well, I think we should probably put this in
Oh, yeah, from
context.
perspective.
So yeah, we have in our area, basically it's put on it's a book festival that celebrates independent bookstores in our area, so around Austin. This is where we started our podcast, and it's like a fun little festival where each of the independent bookstores sort of does their own special thing. They invite authors out, they invite the community out. There were DJs, there were all sorts of fun things, and it's just the most fun book community event.
It's kind of fun to see because now that we've done this podcast and we've met some really incredible people in the book community for about a year, it just kind of reminds me like it's a large community, but kind of small at the same time because we were just out and about and we just stumbled upon different people that we have met throughout the past year. And it was so exciting to see that the book community is like a tight community, but very welcoming to everybody. We're not being close, but it's just kind of nice to see that everywhere in the bookstore that you go, you most likely are going to be finding a friend. And it was just so fun to be able to experience it. It just goes back to our very first episode, which is the community episode. And it just kind of ties everything up really nicely.
I know. It's such a cool thing because I am not a joiner. I'm a person who I don't like to make new friends. I'm very quiet around new people. Once you get to know me, I don't shut the fuck up. But when I first meet people, very much hang back. And part of the reason that Magda and I are such good friends is she's like very good about engaging new people. And I don't know. This was just such a moment where I'm like, I don't know how I ended up here with all these like amazing people, even when I don't want to talk to strangers literally ever. And these are some of the nicest, coolest, most fun people. Shout out to Lori. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to all of the fun people that we got to see today. It was very cool.
It was one of my favorite moments when we were chatting with Lori and she was just like, I just don't have a life. This is all I do. And I'm like, that's our life. Like, that's not you not having, that's because
It's
that's our life too. Like,
it's
that's
the
what we do
life.
for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? I mean, like, we get to live in magical worlds every day. We pick up a book and we find this magnificent experience that we all get to kind of see, hear, read, or experience. So it is a life. It is one of the best things that I feel like. I think it's one of the best. Obviously, I'm being biased because we're in a book podcast, but it's one of the best things that you can do with your life is just go and read and submerge yourself in different stories, I think.
And then use those stories to relate with people that you've never met before. I think that's why reading is such a cool, like, people I think have this idea that reading is like very insular, very like it's used as a way of escape, which it is to some extent, but also like I feel like it's this vehicle to help you escape to other people, to like give you common ground when you first meet them and make it really easy to talk about things that aren't surface, even though you're just meeting them, because you're like, "Oh, why did you like this, like, fantasy book? Why do you like these horror books?" It gives you such insight into their personality, and so, yeah, it's just really fun.
I mean, just like when we were at one of the bookstores today, we were looking at Mexican Gothic and we were looking at, how was the name of the author? Moreno something.
Sylvia Moreno Garcia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Silvia Moreno Garcia, and we were just talking about it, and somebody just came up to us. We actually was part of one of our friends groups, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, have you read the book? She's incredible. You should definitely be reading it." And like, you just immediately we just struck up a conversation out of nowhere, and
Mhm.
it's just so great to be able to hang out with the book people because everybody's so welcoming and nice, like you
I
mentioned.
know. And we did it a little bit differently this year.
We did. So I know last year, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, we live in the Austin central area. So last year we did like a lot of the Austin bookstores. And this year we went a little bit outside of our comfort zone. We went to some bordering towns called Dripping Springs and Lockhart. If you guys don't know, Lockhart has some of the best barbecue in Texas, according to Texas Monthly, not according to me. Texas Monthly says so. Um, so if you guys are interested, go check them out. And it was so fun. I mean, I had never been to Lockhart just for day tripping before. So this was a brand new experience to me and it's adorable. What you expect of a small town square, you get to experience that, a whole bunch of different cute little shops that we got to visit. And I loved it. I think in total we visited 5 different bookstores. What did you think?
Yeah, it was interesting because I think we talked about this in our first Texas book trail. Each store has very much its own personality. Like, I think, like Magda said, like Lockhart is a very small town. And we went to 4 bookstores that were within like a square block of each other. And I think people have this idea of like, well, how are so many bookstores existing so close to each other? But they were completely different. Like, one was like a cute little gift shop kind of store. One of them was like a horror-based bookstore. One of them was attached to a vintage clothing store. Like, you're getting different vibes and personalities from each one. And I felt like I would reach for them at different times depending on, the kind of insight I wanted into the book I was looking for.
I completely agree. I think the one that obviously I think we've talked about it in this podcast that I don't read horror books ever. That's just not my genre. I respect it, I appreciate it, but it's just not for me. To me, honestly, was one of my favorite bookstores today because it's so different and it's so niche. And the way that it was decorated with like scary themes, also it just kind of had some gothic vibes to it. Like it wasn't just 100% like scary reads that is just gonna make you want to pee your pants. It was just like really deep, dark stories that it was, they're quite complex. And the whole decor, the vibe, it is set in a haunted building, really old school Texas, structure, I guess. And it was just such a cool thing. Like, and I would honestly go back there just for the vibes to see what other kind of little tchotchkes they have so I can buy. Maybe not the books because they might not be for me, but it was just such a cool experience to be able to kind of see that. And that's the one that for me, it's my standout.
And that was Haunt Happy Books in Lockhart. Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. They had like some witchy things. They had, they really like extend what the meaning of horror looks like. Like, we have 20th century Frankenstein horror or, 19th century Frankenstein horror versus like more modern horror like Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Like they had a wide range.
So yeah, it was pretty lovely. I loved it. What about you? Did you have any standouts that you want to chat about?
Well, there were a couple of standouts. The one that I want to talk about first is this place called Colossus Books, and they were really focused on. So I've been like trying to be more aware this year of my buying habits. I do tend to lean toward like a consumerist mentality. I am very Cancerian in that way. I'm like a little magpie. I like shiny things. I like new things. And so I have to be, especially in this, like super aware of like how much I'm purchasing books. And so what I liked about Colossus is that they had a lot of they had solely used books for the most part, and they had a lot of pulp novels, which you know how I feel about like pulp paperbacks. So I really felt like I got to like I was still buying things, but I was at least not buying new things. Plus they had all these cool vintage clothes. So yeah, that was the one that like really spoke to me today.
From them, I was able to get Poet X by Elizabeth
Elizabeth
Acevedo,
Acevedo.
which is one that I had been my eye on for a while. So it was really cool to see. So I got it super cheap because it was a used book. And then I ended up getting an adorable, cute top while I was at it. So you get books and clothes that are, you know, what's the word? Responsibly sourced because we are buying secondhand. So it was pretty cool. I love that. It was kind of an interesting concept because you walked in and it's a little boutique store for clothes and like really adorable things. And then towards the back, it's the entire bookstore. And it was so cool looking. We'll post some pictures on our socials.
Well, and I also found it interesting. So, like, the reason that I like buying used books sometimes, especially like cheap, I love cheap paperback used books. For some reason, that really calls to me because I'm always like, what are the covers? Like, the cover art is because they're like meant to appeal to the masses. It's why I like pulp so much, are fascinating to me. So, I got like a pulp cover of Confederacy of Dunces. I got a copy of From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. I always love to buy a children's book. So I got some things that I like were books that I had already read, but I was just like, I like these like like early 80s silly or not silly. I mean, but just like, yeah, totally different kind of artwork that looks very different from what we put out today. We'll post some pictures of that, but I was very taken with it.
They were pretty adorable, and they had like bins and bins of them, and people
Mhm.
were just wanting to go through them. Yeah, they were pretty. And I was finally introduced what you meant by pulp fiction. Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool to be able to see them finally in real life. It's pretty cool.
It's a good time.
um,
But yeah, like I said, I'm trying to buy a little bit less. So I was trying to be really mindful about what I was buying. So like I said, I got some like cheap pulp versions of books that I really love that I didn't have copies of. So I got that. I got a Tom Robbins book. The only new thing that I bought, like new version of something, was a graphic novel by Alison Bechdel. So I like one of the things that we loved last year is that from this event is that it like really introduced us to new kinds of books because like we said, like each bookstore has its own personality and what they highlight tends to be a little bit different. And Alison Bechdel is the person who came up with the Bechdel test. Have you ever heard of that? Yeah, so the Bechdel test, for those of you who don't know, is basically like you pass or fail the Bechdel test if two women talk in a scene together about something other than a man. And it's amazing how often art fails to do this. But she also has these graphic novels that she's known for. And so I picked up one of those called Fun Home. And it's like an autobiographical graphic novel about her life. So I'm pretty excited about that. What about you?
That's that's pretty cool. I think my favorite is also it was very weirdly, and I wasn't sure if I should get this or not, but it was a children's book of Pride and Prejudice, and it is the most adorable thing ever. I'm gonna put it in here. I'm showing it in a video, so if you're listening to this, go check out our socials or watch the YouTube video. It is the cutest little thing, and I don't know if I showed you this, Lindsay. It has like little pool tubs and everything. I don't know. It was just so precious. So one of my biggest regrets was going to a comic book store where they had a Pride and Prejudice graphic novel and I didn't buy it. So this is the second best thing, which is the children's version of Pride and Prejudice, and I am obsessed with it. To me, this is the best thing that I bought today. It was
I'm
this
so
book.
glad that you got it because I know that you were thinking like, "Oh, I shouldn't," because I'm obviously don't have children. I don't want to be but like it brought you so Magda. I've not seen her so happy. She picked this book up. It brought her immediate joy, and I was like, "You have to get it."
It
Yeah.
was like, and it was like we had already checked out and everything from that store. I think this was for Magnolia Bookery and Gifts in Lockhart. We had already checked out and everything. We were just doing like one last round because we caught up with some friends. And then as soon as I'm like, oh, and I'm gonna have to go buy this right now before I leave. And yeah, it was just it's one of those things that it did bring up a lot of joy for me. I think it's my favorite purchase of today. And the other things that I got today, like I already talked about the Poet X, and I did get Somewhere Beyond the Sea, which is the second book um, after the House in the Cerulean Sea, which I think as I already mentioned, freaking love that book. So can't wait to kind of get that started. But it was such a cute little experience. Of course, I got a whole bunch of stickers because everybody knows that I'm obsessed with them. It was just so nice. I don't know. I just loved it. And these were all bookstores that we had never been to before. So this was all brand new experiences for us. So check out our socials. We'll be posting quite a bit of videos and posts on this. It was such a good time. Also, Lindsay got me a really fun lollipop from Apothecary Cosmic Things. So I'm gonna eat this today and I'll let you know how it is. Any other comments or thoughts?
No, well, I mean, just my last thought is I think we said this in our first round of this last year, and I just want to reiterate it again. Like, wherever possible, you should be shopping at your small bookstores. Like, they have personalities, they have such strengths in a way that you're not going to get at a large big box store. Like, I just always feel like I walk into one of those stores and end up getting something completely different than I would have expected because of the way that the bookstore's personality surfaces what I should get. So it was just really fun.
Yeah, it was so fun. Go shop local if you can. Go support your independent bookstores. Thanks again to the people that organized this at the Austin, Texas Book Trail page. They do an amazing job. Every time that we talk to the owners of the bookstores, they're so excited because this is obviously one of the biggest days for them in a year. There's other big days, but this is obviously one of them. And it is such a fun day and it's just such a fun time. You get to meet amazing people in the community, you meet incredible customers, everybody. And it's just, I don't know, this just brings a smile to my little heart. It's so cute.
Agreed.
All right. Anything else?
No, it's just thank you for this fun day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for going with me. I guess now we can actually go and enjoy your reads now that we are done recording too. So thank you for listening to Literally Books, the podcast.
Where we say what we read.
And when we always say bye.